I think food is actually getting trickier and trickier and trickier. The things that are coming out of a package, coming out of a factory, coming out of a box or a can, we're getting further away from real food and more into these science creations that we don't even know necessarily what we're eating. So I want to talk to you today about reading your food labels and coming to a bit of an understanding as to what the heck you're looking for. The thing is, there are big marketing companies that have gazillions of dollars to try and make these foods more tasty and appealing and make us buy them. The marketing efforts behind some of these foods are huge and insane. And so today, let's talk a little bit about what to look for so that you know how to read your nutrition labels and not get fooled by the marketing tactics that are getting presented to you. So, do you know what's in most of your food? Probably not. When it comes to like pantry and frozen food, it's really, really important that you start not only checking the nutrition labels, but understanding what you're looking for and what to be reading. So you might already do that. But there's a couple sneaky additives that still might be getting into your cupboard. So I would love you to go and grab a couple different random things out of your pantry, out of your fridge or out of your freezer, and just take a good hard look at them. Something that's in a box or a can or a package, something that you normally eat and you've maybe even thought was pretty good for you. I want you to look at it with new eyes. So the next time you're at a supermarket, you're going to go in with a little bit of a different perspective and taking a closer look at the labels after we talk about these things. So know that the first few ingredients on any label are crucial. So for every packaged product, the ingredients are listed from the highest quantity to the lowest quantity. So the main ingredients in that package are going to be the first couple ingredients. So it's really good to know that if you think you know what you're eating is actually what's in those first couple ingredients. So that usually tells you what you need to know. And if you see anything that says like refined or composed of sugar or any hydrogenated fats or oils at the beginning, that you might want to just skip that altogether. So also be cautious that the list of ingredients, if it's extensive and really long, if it's really lengthy, has a bunch of words that you can't pronounce or can't understand, that would also raise some flags for me because you don't necessarily know what you're putting in you. And if you don't know, then there's a good chance it was made in a factory and we don't know the exact outcome that it's going to be. And a good example of this is like food colorings. We have learned that food colorings can actually affect kids' mental health or energy levels. There's so many things that food colorings, although may seem, harmless, can actually really be affecting us down the road. They didn't know this when they started putting color in food, and now it is much more commonly known, but unless you're looking for it, you might not recognize it to be there. And a lot of these things are still legal or they've changed names. The next thing that I want you to look at in your food is pay attention to the serving size. So when you're checking out like the calorie and the fat and the nutrients and the other contents of what it says is in there, most packages note that for a single serving size. So take a bag of chips, for example. The serving size on a package of a bag of chips is usually much smaller than what you would actually typically eat as a portion. So even picture those like little single serving bags of chips. That's usually a couple serving sizes when it comes to the measurements of the ingredients of what's inside. So if you're looking to see how many calories something has or how much fat it has something, it's only going to be based off of usually like a couple tablespoons. If you look at ice cream, chips, then know that their serving size is probably not what you'd actually be eating, especially if you were in a restaurant. The serving size that they give us of foods in restaurants is definitely not in proportion to the actual nutrient benefits of serving sizes. The next thing that I want to talk about for this is watching out for the buzzwords. So if something is labeled low fat or low calorie or light, you've seen that on all kinds of things, it might sound healthier, but it usually means it's either watered down or has more sugar, or it's been added some kind of ingredients to compensate for the taste. So if it has less fat, then it might need actually more of something else to really compensate because they've taken out a portion of that food. On another note, things like multigrain are usually going to consist of refined grains instead of whole grain. So they use a lot of trick words like this to make us think that it might be healthy. So fruit flavored or all natural, that's a couple more options that you're going to be seeing that you could start questioning. You're like, well, what does it mean? If it says all natural on it and then you go to read the ingredients list, That's questionable. And unfortunately, the marketing companies are allowed to do things like this. So study up on these definitions so you know what they truly mean instead of taking them at face value. So fruit flavored, it doesn't mean that it has fruit in there, unfortunately. So even though you may think you're making a healthy choice, it often is not as healthy as we'd like it to be. So the next thing I want you to look for is the good. So fiber is essential for the body, especially for your digestive system where your good bacteria needs to flourish. You're going to get it in like fresh fruits and veggies, but unfortunately in packaged food, finding real whole grains is actually going to be hard to find, and we need it to be able to round out our meals. So look for the vitamin content in the foods that you do choose. Things like vitamin A, C, D, iron, calcium, potassium are all good choices. So if things do have vitamins and minerals and nutrients in them, very, very good. Minimizing contact with bad fats. So the more saturated fat that you eat, the higher your risk for actual illnesses and diseases caused by high fat. So when we talk about fat, there's good fat and there is bad fat. Good fat is going to be things like avocados and olive oil. But there is so much fat in packaged foods that we need to be really careful. So things like trans fats or no saturated fats. And if you do choose anything that has these in them, make sure it's in moderation. Okay, I have a list here that I'm following because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything on my list for you guys today. The next one that I want to talk about is sugar. Sugar is really, really sneaky. Sugar is in so many things and has a million different names for it. So all of the different aliases of sugar have a way of making them not sound as unhealthy as they might be. So you can find sugar in sauces, in salad dressings, and all kinds of foods you'd never expect it to be in. So be careful and be really mindful to know different names that sugar goes by. And if you see it listed towards the beginning of your list, then also remember that that's going to be a main ingredient in that food. So if it's going to be high in something, you want to have moderation of that. It's not to say don't have it at all if there's sugar in it. It's really hard to avoid anything with sugar, but keeping in mind those things. So for example, if you have sugar in your salad dressing, then you're just wanting to use a really little bit of that salad dressing or make your own from scratch from home. That's easily doable as well. But start recognizing the different names of sugar and realize it's everywhere. I had one client that we were talking to about sugar, and she actually saw it, her salt box. Literally, a box of salt has sugar in it. So sugar really is everywhere. And I want you to start looking at labels, reading packages, thinking about it, and realizing what you're putting into your body when it comes to whole food versus processed foods. So this video is not to say don't eat anything out of a box or package ever again. I realize that's not practical, but start to make some choices around your understanding of what actually is in your food. So go pull some things out of your fridge, out of your freezer, out of your pantry, read the labels, take pictures of them and pop them here to show us if there's something you maybe thought was healthy and it's not, or if you have a question on one of them, then pop it here with the video and let's chat and discuss it in more detail.